Hello, my friends. Dr. Alan Mandell here. I hope you're staying healthy, strong, and informed. Today, we're talking about something extremely important, especially if you're over the age of 60, certain fish that can quietly raise your risk of stroke, sometimes overnight, and what you should be eating instead. Fish is healthy, right? Omega-3, heart protection, lower inflammation, yes. But not all fish are created equal. Some fish can thicken your blood, raise inflammation, increase plaque buildup, and even elevate dangerous toxins that affect your arteries. When we talk about stroke risk after the age of 60, most people think about high blood pressure, cholesterol, or stress. But very few know that one of the biggest silent overnight triggers may actually be sitting right inside their kitchen, hidden inside certain fish that look healthy, smell clean, and are often advertised as good for the heart. Yet for millions of older adults, these very fish can thicken the blood, inflame the arteries, elevate toxins, and push the brain into dangerous territory while they sleep. This is not fear. This is physiology. And tonight, you're about to understand why. As the human body ages, everything slows down: circulation, detoxification, cellular repair. The liver, your primary detox organ, becomes less efficient every decade after 50. This means toxins that were once filtered quickly now linger in the bloodstream longer. And one of the most dangerous toxins that accumulates with age is mercury, commonly found in large predator fish. When mercury enters the bloodstream, it binds to proteins, disrupts cellular communication, and damages the fragile endothelium, the inner lining of your blood vessels. That damage doesn't stay silent. It sparks inflammation, raises oxidative stress, and sends stress signals into your vascular system that can increase clot formation. For someone over 60, this can turn a routine meal into a stroke-triggering situation within hours. King mackerel, swordfish, shark, tilefish, big-eye tuna, and marlin. These are the fish with the highest mercury levels measured in modern food science. These fish live long lives, eat smaller fish, and absorb mercury from polluted oceans, storing it in their tissues at levels up to 10 times higher than smaller fish. Many seniors don't know this. They simply hear the word fish and assume it's good for them. They assume omega-3 means protection. They assume lean protein means heart-friendly, but the truth is far more complex. Because when mercury enters the bloodstream of an older adult, it doesn't act like a nutrient. It behaves like a vascular toxin. Scientific studies from Harvard, the Journal of Toxicology, and multiple neurological institutes reveal something alarming. Mercury directly increases blood pressure by damaging the artery's ability to dilate. When arteries stiffen, the heart must work harder and blood pressure rises. High blood pressure is the #1 predictor of stroke, but mercury doesn't stop there. It makes platelets, the tiny cells that help blood clot, become sticky. And sticky platelets mean thicker blood, higher clot formation, and a dramatically higher risk of a clot traveling to the brain. This is the hidden mechanism most people don't realize. Stroke is not just about blocked arteries, it is about clot behavior. And mercury influences clot behavior more aggressively in older adults than in any other age group. Researchers have shown that just one serving of a high-mercury fish can raise circulating mercury levels for days. In seniors whose detoxification is already slower, those levels remain elevated even longer. Picture this: you enjoy a meal at dinner, feeling satisfied and healthy. But a few hours later, while your body sleeps and your brain enters its most vulnerable state, mercury is still circulating, still damaging, still thickening, still stressing your vascular system. Many strokes occur early in the morning because blood pressure, clotting, and arterial tension are at their highest during sleep cycles. Combine those natural rhythms with elevated mercury, and you have a perfect storm unfolding silently, without warning, without pain, without any visible sign. The scariest part is that mercury doesn't need weeks or months to cause harm. Inflammation markers can spike within hours. Endothelial dysfunction can occur the same day. Clotting factors can increase overnight. The timing aligns tragically with the early morning spike in stroke incidents seen in older populations across the globe. It's not coincidence, it's chemistry, and the chemistry changes dramatically depending on what fish you choose. Older adults also tend to take medications: blood pressure drugs, diabetes medications, statins, aspirin. Mercury interferes with these medications by increasing oxidative stress, reducing absorption, or adding metabolic strain to the liver. What seems harmless, a grilled fish fillet, can actually disrupt medication effectiveness and raise cardiovascular risk. The interaction between mercury and aging physiology is real, measurable, and proven in clinical research. Neurologists studying cognitive decline have also discovered that mercury crosses the blood-brain barrier. Once inside the brain, it affects neurons, your thinking cells, your memory cells, the cells that keep your balance, coordination, and reaction times safe. Even low levels of mercury exposure can impair brain function in seniors. But high-mercury fish don't give you low exposure. They give you intense, repeated exposure. And when a brain already facing age-related vulnerability is met with mercury-induced neurological stress, the risk of ischemic events, interruptions of blood flow that lead to stroke, rises even more. Add to this the modern problem of global ocean contamination. Mercury levels in large fish are higher today than they were 30 years ago due to coal burning, industrial waste, and environmental pollution. So even if someone ate these fish safely in their youth, the fish they buy today are different, heavier in metals, heavier in toxins, heavier in risk. But the most heartbreaking part is the lack of awareness. Many seniors switch to fish thinking they're making the best choice for their heart. They trust the brochures, the commercials, the packaging. They trust the old rule, fish equals healthy. And while that's true for many fish, it is dangerously false for the high mercury species millions of people unknowingly consume every week. The body of a 30-year-old can process toxins faster. The body of a 60-year-old cannot. And the difference between those two is often the difference between safety and stroke. Imagine arteries already weakened by time, already stiffened by decades of wear, suddenly exposed to something that inflames them sharply, rapidly, and aggressively. Imagine a bloodstream already slow to detox, suddenly flooded with a toxin designed by nature to be absorbed, held, and distributed deeply into tissues. Imagine a brain that depends on perfect blood flow, suddenly threatened by sticky platelets forming microscopic clots. This is why certain fish are so dangerous for older adults, not because fish is unhealthy, but because mercury is. And this is the truth seniors deserve to know, not to create fear, but to create power. Power to choose wisely, power to eat safely, power to protect their brain and arteries. Because one meal should never determine your risk of stroke overnight. One dinner should never put your health at risk while you sleep, and one wrong fish should never undermine years of good habits. Awareness is the antidote. Knowledge is prevention. And choosing the right fish is one of the simplest, strongest steps anyone over 60 can take to protect their heart, protect their arteries, and protect their life. Most people look at smoked fish and see a gourmet treat, rich flavor, beautiful texture, a food associated with health, culture, and tradition. But what almost no one over the age of 60 realizes is that behind the pleasant aroma and the silky slices lies one of the most silently dangerous foods for the aging brain and the aging arteries. Because smoked and processed fish don't behave like fresh fish inside the human body. They behave like biochemical landmines, slow, quiet, and devastating when paired with the physiology of someone whose cardiovascular system is no longer young. What makes smoked fish risky is not the fish itself. It's what the smoking process does to it. During smoking, compounds called nitrosamines are formed, molecules so toxic that scientists classify them among the most dangerous food-derived carcinogens ever documented. But in adults over 60, nitrosamines do something even more immediate. They stiffen the arteries. They impair the smooth muscles inside blood vessels. They trigger oxidative stress that ages the cardiovascular system faster than time itself. A single serving of smoked fish can elevate these compounds in the bloodstream for hours, quietly weakening the artery's ability to expand, which is critical to preventing strokes. And that's just the beginning. Smoked fish is also loaded with sodium, levels so high that they can cause an overnight spike in blood pressure. In younger people, the body compensates quickly, but in someone over 60, the kidneys can't regulate salt the way they used to. The arteries can't relax the way they once did. The heart can't buffer sudden pressure jumps as easily. This creates the perfect environment for a hypertensive surge during sleep, when the brain is least prepared to handle it. Studies show that older adults consuming heavily salted, smoked foods experience higher nighttime blood pressure than those who don't. And nighttime blood pressure is the #1 predictor of early morning stroke, the most dangerous type. Processed fish, whether canned, preserved, cured, or packaged comes with another set of problems. Many brands contain chemical preservatives like sodium benzoate and sulfites, which increase inflammation and disrupt the body's natural antioxidant defense. When sulfites enter the bloodstream, they deplete glutathione, the body's master detoxifier, and glutathione levels naturally decline with age, meaning older adults have even less protection. With every bite of processed fish, an aging body becomes more vulnerable to oxidative stress, vascular damage, and clot formation. Researchers from major cardiovascular institutes have discovered that smoked and processed fish tend to have significantly higher lipid oxidation products, molecules created when fats are damaged by processing, heat, or exposure to air. These oxidation products directly injure endothelial cells, the cells responsible for keeping blood vessels smooth and clot-free. When these cells are damaged, platelets become more reactive, blood becomes more viscous, and microclots form more easily. These microclots can travel to the brain and block circulation in seconds. For someone over 60 whose blood may already be thicker due to age-related changes, this risk compounds dramatically. Even more concerning is that the fats inside smoked fish change chemically during processing. Omega-3s, once beneficial, are partially degraded into oxidized forms that actually increase inflammation instead of reducing it. These damaged fats raise CRP levels, a blood marker associated with heart attacks and strokes. People think they're eating something healthy because it's fish. They think it's heart-friendly, brain-friendly, longevity-friendly. But inside the body, the chemistry transforms in ways that make the risks far outweigh the benefits. Another danger lies in the type of fish typically chosen for smoking: salmon, mackerel, and sometimes trout. Fish naturally high in fats, which makes them highly vulnerable to oxidation. When fats oxidize, they turn into aldehydes, compounds shown in research to induce DNA damage, disrupt mitochondrial function, and degrade arterial elasticity. You may not taste these compounds, you may not smell them, but your arteries experience their effects immediately. And then there is the issue few people talk about: contaminants. Smoked fish often contains higher levels of polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, PAHs, created when smoke penetrates the flesh. These chemicals don't just increase cancer risk, they also disrupt endothelial nitric oxide, the very molecule responsible for keeping arteries open and flexible. Without nitric oxide, the blood vessels narrow, blood pressure rises, and the risk of a clot forming skyrockets. Imagine arteries that should glide smoothly, suddenly becoming rigid, narrow, and inflamed. That is what polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons do inside an aging cardiovascular system. The real danger is the combination: high sodium, nitrosamines, oxidized fats, PAHs, and chemical preservatives all entering the bloodstream at the same time. For someone under 40, the body has enough biological resilience to compensate. But for someone in their 60s, the resilience is lower, the detox pathway slower, the arteries more fragile, and the heart more susceptible to sudden physiological stress. One smoked salmon bagel at night can be enough to cause a salt-induced blood pressure spike, an inflammatory response, and an overnight hardening of the arteries that pushes the brain into dangerous territory by morning. And let's not forget the hidden calories. Smoked fish, especially when paired with sauces or cured in oils, often contains more fat and calories than people realize. Excess calories contribute to insulin spikes, increased abdominal fat, and metabolic strain, all factors linked to higher stroke risk. It is not the indulgence itself that harms the aging body, it is the metabolic chaos that follows. For many seniors, smoked fish is eaten at social gatherings, late dinners, holiday meals, times when stress, alcohol, or dehydration are already factors. Each of these adds another layer of instability to the cardiovascular system. Dehydration thickens the blood. Alcohol thins it, but increases clotting rebound later. Stress raises cortisol, which raises blood pressure. Add smoked fish, and the physical strain multiplies. And yet the danger remains invisible. Smoked fish doesn't cause pain. It doesn't cause symptoms. It doesn't cause immediate reactions. It simply enters the bloodstream and begins altering the very environment your arteries depend on. Older adults often wake up with headaches, dizziness, or a feeling of heaviness after eating smoked foods the night before. Many dismiss it as aging, but in reality, their blood pressure likely spiked overnight. their arteries stiffened, and their brain received less circulation than it needed. This is why smoked and processed fish are dangerous for people over 60, not because fish is unhealthy, but because processing transforms it into something the aging cardiovascular system is not designed to handle. Every compound that gets added, every fat that becomes oxidized, every preservative included, becomes another weight pressing down on arteries that are already working hard to stay flexible, open, and alive. Understanding this isn't fear, it's empowerment. Because once you know the truth, you can make choices that protect your brain, your heart, and your future. You can eat fish that heals instead of fish that harms. You can choose safety without sacrificing flavor. And you can take control over a risk that silently affects millions of seniors every year, often without them ever knowing why. Fried fish is one of those foods that feels comforting, familiar, innocent, the kind of meal people grew up eating on weekends, at family gatherings, at small restaurants, where the batter was crispy and the aroma alone made you hungry. But what millions of adults over 60 don't realize is that fried fish doesn't behave like fish at all once it enters the aging body. It behaves like a biochemical threat, one that can quietly raise stroke risk in a single evening, long before symptoms appear. Because when you take a naturally delicate food like fish and immerse it in high-temperature oil, coat it in refined flour, and expose it to repeated heating cycles, the final product becomes something the cardiovascular system of a senior cannot tolerate safely. What makes fried fish so dangerous isn't just the calories or the fat, it's what happens to the oils during frying. When oil is heated to high temperatures, especially reused oil, it breaks down and forms trans fats, artificial fats so harmful that researchers have linked them to inflammation, blood thickening, arterial stiffness, and increased clot formation. Trans fats don't just raise bad cholesterol, they attack the endothelium, the delicate cells that keep your arteries smooth and open. When these cells are injured, blood flow becomes turbulent, pressure rises, and the risk of clot formation skyrockets. For someone over 60, with arteries already less elastic, those changes become significantly more dangerous. And it gets worse. High heat also creates lipid oxidation products, toxic molecules formed when fats in the fish and the frying oil combine with oxygen. These molecules are so destructive that scientists compare them to rust inside the bloodstream. They damage DNA, disrupt cell membranes, and create inflammation that spreads through the arteries like a slow-burning fire. Studies from the Journal of Clinical Nutrition show that people who regularly eat fried foods have narrower arteries, higher triglycerides, and significantly increased stroke risk. But the impact is dramatically more severe in older adults whose detox systems weaken with age and struggle to remove oxidative toxins. When fish is fried, the batter becomes a delivery system for refined carbohydrates. The combination of refined flour and hot oil transforms the coating into a rapidly absorbed starch capable of spiking blood sugar within minutes. High blood sugar thickens the blood, increases inflammatory markers, and triggers insulin spikes that stress the vascular system. For seniors, whose insulin sensitivity is often lower, the effect becomes even stronger. Elevated blood sugar at night can make the blood more viscous, thicker, stickier, slower. And thick blood is one of the key triggers of clot formation during sleep, a time when the brain is extremely vulnerable. But there is another factor almost no one talks about: the frying oils themselves. Many restaurants, fast food chains, and home cooks use vegetable oils like soybean, corn, and canola. On the surface, they seem harmless, but these oils are high in omega-6 fats. Omega-6 fats are essential in small amounts, but when consumed excessively, especially in fried foods, they create an inflammatory imbalance in the bloodstream. And inflammation is not just discomfort or swelling, it is the silent foundation on which strokes are built. Chronic inflammation destabilizes plaque, making it more likely to rupture. It stiffens arteries, raises blood pressure, and promotes the formation of microclots that can suddenly block blood flow to the brain. Fried fish also carries another hidden danger: age compounds, advanced glycation end products. These harmful molecules form when proteins and sugars fuse together under high heat. Age compounds accelerate aging inside the arteries and brain. They make collagen stiff, making blood vessels less flexible. They damage nerve cells, impairing communication between the brain and the cardiovascular system. In older adults whose tissues already contain higher levels of AGEs due to normal aging, fried foods inject a new wave of compounds that the body is no longer equipped to neutralize. This is why experts call AGEs internal accelerators of vascular aging. And then there's the effect on triglycerides. Fried fish spikes triglyceride levels within hours. High triglycerides thicken the bloodstream and promote the formation of small, dense LDL particles, the most dangerous type of cholesterol because they can slip into artery walls and trigger inflammation. A study from the University of Alabama found a shocking connection. Adults who ate fried fish at least once a week had a 37% higher stroke risk, and the risk increased with age. But the part that shocked researchers most was the timeline. The inflammatory spike caused by fried foods wasn't delayed. It began the same day. For older adults, this timing matters. Many people eat fried fish at dinner, late evening meals, family gatherings, or weekend outings. That means the body enters sleep, the most vulnerable state of the cardiovascular system, during the peak of inflammation, oxidative stress, blood thickening, and arterial stiffness caused by fried foods. Most strokes occur early in the morning between 6 a.m. and 12 p.m. This pattern aligns exactly with nighttime surges in blood pressure, morning cortisol spikes, and the physiological instability caused by fried foods consumed hours earlier. It's not coincidence, it's biology. Another layer of risk is dehydration. Fried foods make people thirsty, and older adults naturally have a reduced sense of thirst. Dehydration makes the blood thicker, increases clotting, and decreases blood volume, forcing the heart to work harder to pump. For a senior, eating fried fish in the evening without adequate water creates the perfect conditions for increased nighttime blood pressure and early morning arterial strain. This combination is what silently pushes millions toward stroke without them ever realizing the connection. And yet fried fish continues to feel familiar, comforting, nostalgic. People think it's only once a week or I've eaten this my whole life. But what the body tolerated at 20, 40, or even 50 is no longer tolerated the same at 60 and beyond. The arteries have changed, the heart has changed, the liver has changed, the insulin response has changed, the inflammatory pathways have changed, and fried foods take advantage of these vulnerabilities in the most silent, ruthless way. What makes this truth so important is that it gives older adults power to prevent something that feels unpredictable, something that feels random, something that often strikes without warning. But stroke is not random. Stroke is a chain reaction triggered by inflammation, clotting, arterial stiffness, blood pressure spikes, and oxidative stress. And fried fish activates every single one of those pathways at the same time. The good news is this: awareness can save lives. One change, avoiding fried fish, can reduce inflammatory markers, stabilize blood pressure, improve blood flow, reduce clot formation, and protect the arteries that keep the brain alive. One change can lower the risk of stroke more effectively than many medications. One change can add years of clarity, memory, independence, and strength. And that one change begins with understanding the hidden danger of fried fish, especially after the age of 60. My friends, being over 60 means your body becomes more sensitive to inflammation, toxins, and arterial pressure. The right fish can heal you, and the wrong fish can harm you. Make smart choices, protect your arteries, and keep your brain strong. This is Dr. Mandell. I love and appreciate you. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.